Okay, so today I wanted to start and continue a little bit on our reviews. We had this table of reviews that were associated with every product. So our product had our reviews table had a foreign key that pushed it back to the products table. So that we associated those so that when I display my reviews, my product show page, the detail of one product, I can list all the reviews associated with that. And then we added the stars in the rating system. And I showed you how to hack that. That was so easy. So we forced pegging the variable. If I look at my review, where is my review? Oh, that's why I can't find it. All right, there we go. So our reviews, new. We used this concept of pegging the rating so that we forced, if they gave me something bigger than what I wanted in my database, I forced it into a specific range, and I call that pegging. And we created the review, and now I want to take the average of all the reviews, and I want to show them on my show page. So I've got all these reviews up here, and I'd like to show that up here, average reviews of this product across all the people that did a review. So how would I do that? Sounds like a SQL statement, right? Now I could go through and get all the reviews and look at all the column, all of the review number, and add them all up and divide by the number, but the database does that already for me, so there's no reason to do that. So I worked out the select statement that would do that. This says select the average of the rating column, and we're going to call it a variable average rating. So this is just standard SQL. Get me some data, store it in this variable, and I want to get it from the reviews table only for a specific product. So this is going to return me all of the reviews that have the foreign key set back to the product that it's associated with, and add them all up and give me an average rating. And so if I run this is the data that I get back. I get 7.5 as my average rating. Now that's because I screwed up this data and added 50. That's why it's above 5. But that's the average that I get back if I execute this line of code. So I need to implement this in my code. And where would I do that? What page do I want to display my show page? Okay, so my product show page right here. This is, I created my little stars function there. And we do our SQL connection. And we get the right product. And I'm going to do some SQL here that actually gets me the data. But I also need to do another SQL command to get the actual average. So I'm going to do another SQL command here. That'll be the easiest. So I'm going to say my SQL is going to be this long string. And instead of the hard-coded 6, what am I going to use for my product ID? My $ID. Very good. You can call it whatever you want. My average.
Just because you already have the variable.
Yep. I could do it in one command if I wanted to, but I don't. So I could have it as a one long command, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the actual query, execute the command, and then my row is going to have the data in it, which is going to be my average rating. So the column ID, the column name that my select statement created for me automatically is called average rating. So my average rating I could say average. Sheesh. Rating is going to be my row sub what? Average rating. I can't spell average. Rating. All right, so that's now going to be 7.5 that I can do something with. And then I can go on and query again to get the data. And it might be more efficient if I did that all in one spot, but this is easier for me to figure out. So now I want to display the data. I want to actually display the rating stars in here in my show. Oh, thank you. I don't usually change my name. There we go. Thank you. So I have to use the right string. Thank you. So now I have my average rating in a variable, and I want to add that number of stars. And I have my nice little function up here called stars that creates a big long string with a div and a bunch of images in it. So I'm going to put that, we'll put that at the bottom of this. And it's not going to let me call that inside of there. So I'm going to have to call my method and have a variable stars equals, no, stars is not a good name because that's the name of my star string. How about that? No, that's inside of the variable, inside of the function, so the scope is different. So I'm going to call my stars method, and I'm going to pass it my average rating that I got from the SQL query. And then inside of here, I'm just going to print out my star string so that it will be inside of the data, inside of the show piece of this. So let's go look and see what that does. So it should show up underneath the picture here. And it's waiting for me to log in, so it's not uploading. Thank you for that. That would cause an issue. All right, look at that. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stars. So that's okay. I mean, it's rounding up to 8. Some places do half stars and all that kind of stuff. You can do that if you want, but one star, whole stars are fine. No. That's a styling thing. You can do that however you want. You've got the basic skill here now to display half stars if you wanted to up here and things like that. But a lot of extra code. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen every kind of rating system you can think of. I've seen. So, all right. Any questions on getting the average rating? Then, does that make sense? I'm just querying the database, letting the database figure that out for me, and getting the number and calling my function again for the average. All right. Any questions on that? Seemed pretty easy. Yeah, SQL select. That's what should come to your mind. All right, good. All right, let's. If there aren't any questions, let's move on to some sessions. And we'll start a new file just for playing around with. We'll call it sessions. That was weird. Delete. New PHP file is what I want. Yeah, it was. It was weird. All right, so here we go. I've got my PHP file. And if we look at the documentation on the php.net/session start is the name of the method that we're going to use. This talks about sessions, and you can go read all about sessions and how they work. Basically, a session is a way of tracking data across web page requests. Remember that HTTP is stateless, right? I say that every time. It's stateless. That means that each web request is new to the server. It has no idea that it came from the same person unless we send along some additional information. So the way that the session works here is by storing a cookie on the server, on the client's browser. Okay? And I don't know, in the early days of the web, I argued with people over and over that they were against cookies. We don't use cookies on our site. We use the sessions instead. Well, how do you track the sessions? I don't know. We have no idea how those work. We just use sessions. But we're forbidden by corporate policy to use cookies on our site. And I'd have to show them that PHP or any other system out there has to throw what we call throwing a cookie onto the client in order to track that. That's what it does. So there's no way around that. There are other ways to track information, and PHP has a way of storing, instead of the session being in a cookie, they save it in the URL itself. So it passes a big long string, a lot like the Google. It goes in the query string, big long session ID up in the query string. So if you really don't want cookies, that's the way it's going to happen. All right, so that's what a session does. If I want to have a session available on a particular page, each page I have to call this session start method. I just have to call it at the top of my program, and that makes available to that page a new associative array called $_session. So a lot like the $_get and a $_post and all of that, it's the same type of associative array, and I can store data into that, and I can retrieve data from that. I can put anything I want. It's just like a hash or an associative array by adding new elements to that session array, and it will keep across various page views. And it creates a new session for each user. So the browser, by passing the cookie back and forth, and the server keep in sync, and they know that this is Dave, he's coming to buy something, and he's added something to his cart, and that same session travels with them across different page views. Does that make sense? On basically how sessions work. Any questions on that? All right, so let's play with that a little bit. I need to call this session start method, and it's just a method without any parameters. So I'm going to copy and paste that into my code. And that tells this page now that I'm going to be using a session array, and I want to be able to do something with it. So I can store anything I want, and this little example here is probably a good one. We'll store this information in here. This is the array. The $_session is now made available to me, and I create a new element in there just by giving it a name. This is like a hash in Ruby, a key-value pair. This is the key. This is the value that I'm saving in that array slot. So my animal is going to be cat, and my session is going to be time. All right. So let's create a new PHP file so that we'll know it's a completely different page request, and I'm going to call it show session. So show session. And on that page, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to call the session start. And then what that does is it makes available all the data that has been stored in this previously. So I can, at this point, I can echo out the $session variable, and I can look at, what did I store? My fave color. I can print out fave color, and that's going to print out whatever I stored in that variable. Let's add a break tag. And I'll print out all three pieces of my session. I had animal and time. All right, so this is just going to retrieve the session data that had been previously set and display it onto the browser window. So let's go, and if I look at that one first, if I go to my show session first, I should get nothing, right? There's nothing in my page. So in order for me to set that data, I have to call my sessions.php first. Sessions.php. All right, that, while it didn't show anything, it set data in that array. So now if I go back to my other one and redisplay it, now I can retrieve that data back from the array and display it, use it however I want. So this now traverses across every page that I have session start on. Does that make sense? Everybody with me so far? All right, let's go see. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do it in Chrome yet. Let's go to my show session over here. This is a new user logging in, and there's nothing here. Why is that? I'm a new user, I'm a new browser, there's no cookie set for this user. So when I go to sessions, that sets the data, and if I go back to my show sessions, now this user has the same data. The time is a little different. Notice that the time number of seconds since epoch has changed. That's newer. And I can look at the cookies. Let's look at the cookie information and see what I have. So this is the cookie that is shown for this particular site. And if you look at it, the name is called PHP SesID. And the value of the cookie is this random bunch of characters that the server associates back with this browser session. So the server knows about this number, and the client knows about this number. But notice in here, I don't see anything about cats or green or time information. So it's fairly secure in that I can't read the data from this cookie if somebody stole my cookie, right? And I could cry for some milk. So the data is securely on the server. Now it is possible to copy this cookie into my browser, another browser, and mimic that I'm somebody else. I can do that, but then your whole machine is compromised anyway, so that's a problem. And there are some ways of hacking this, but it's not as easy to do. All right, so that shows you it's a cookie. It's guaranteed a cookie. Even if they say, no, we're just using sessions, it is a session cookie. So when I quit my browser, this cookie gets destroyed. It says it expires at the end of the session. So if I quit this, let's copy this URL and quit and load up Firefox again. And notice how all the data is gone. It's no longer there. It would have created a whole new session. In this particular session, I haven't set those 3 pieces of data yet. All right? Does that make sense? See how easy that is? So sessions are really pretty simple to deal with. I can use them to store login information in, for instance. So a really simple way of doing login authentication is to just store the username that they logged in with. I can verify that they're a user in my site, in a user table, for instance, and verify that that's there, and then store that some of that information in a session variable that then as they traverse through my site, I can read that and say, oh yeah, this guy's already logged in, and I can show different information based on that session information. Does that make sense? So we'll play with that a little bit. If let's create a new file called login. And on here, I'm going to call my session start. And I'm going to ask the user for a username and password, right? I might do something like that. So let's echo out a little form and have a form that goes somewhere. We'll have it go to my login.php file. What method do you think I should use? Post. All right. In my form. And I need an username, have an input of a text box, and a name of username, and that's good enough, I think. And then I might have a password. All right, so I have two input boxes. What's the last thing I need for my form? I need a submit box. Very good. Submit button. Input type equals submit. Name equals submit. Value equals login. Right, so let's see what that looks like. If I go to my login.php file, got a nice username and password. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? So I can type something in here. And why does this show up as dots? Because I called it a password type. So the browser interprets that and says, oh, you don't want to display stuff. This does not mean that I'm typing a dot, right? You've heard that joke about the person typing in 8 dots. I typed it just like he did, and I can't get in. Yeah, I can't get it in. So if I push login, where does the data go? No, not yet. It goes nowhere. It posts it, and I need to retrieve that data back out of here, right? So I'm going to get my name, my username. I'm going to get that from my post data, right? Called username. I'm going to get the password. And I've got my 2 data points. What was that? Yes, provided it's set. So I could use my isSet of that, use my ternary operator, right? If it's set, then I return this. Trying to be too good on your stuff here. Otherwise, I return nothing. Same thing. Call isSet. Everybody see why I did that? It eliminates the notices I get for password not being used, not being set. All right. So I've got a username and password, and And let's just echo those out for now. And let's see what I got. So Dave, and my password is something, and I log in, and there's my username and my password. So I got the data from the form, and now I can do something with it. All right. So I'm going to leave this for you a little bit. There's lots of ways to do this, but I need to verify that the person exists in my database. So I might have a user table with some information, and there's lots of tutorials online that they change all the time. Apparently the ones online that I have out there have a bunch of deprecated stuff in it, mostly related to the session start. So this is the right way to do sessions now. So we need to check that against the database, make sure that they've logged in, that they have a record in my database, that the password matches, things like that. I can encrypt the password and all kinds of other information. But once I do that, then if they pass, then I'm going to set some session variables to show that they're logged in. So I can just use my session variable here and do whatever I want to track that this user is logged in. So I can say something like logged in. Are they logged in? And set this to true. I could also maybe set the information about when they logged in. So last login time might be useful to set it to the current time, which I did over here, which is just the time. All right, that gives me the number of epoch seconds. And at that point, once they're verified, I want to go, what? What might I do if they've logged in correctly? I'm gonna redirect to someplace. So I'm gonna do the same type of a redirect. Let's to the home page. So I'm gonna do this like this. If username, all right, this is really secure. So if they type anything, they're going to let them in. Obviously, that's not the way to go, but it'll show the point about the sessions. And we want to do a header. So where did we do a redirect? We did it here. I always like to copy code that I've already written. So I'm going to do this redirect. Changing the header information, and I'm going to go to something like, what is my login? Index? Yeah, index.php. And I might add my little cache busting that I have here. All right? So what else is wrong with this now? Okay, I either have to take out my echoes, which we'll do, or I have to go through that whole OB start flush system so that I can write to this output buffer instead. Otherwise, my header won't work right. All right. So how would I know that I'm logged in? Let's do it here. Let's reload my page. I don't have an index.php, really? Question mark. I need a question mark to differentiate the query string from the page that I need here. That was a test for you guys. That's what it was. All right, so I log in as Dave, and we pass it along, and there we go. All right, and it triggers this Chrome. Do you want to save the password? Just because I had a login state, and now I'm here. But how do I know that I'm logged in? I redirected, but on my page, how do I know I've logged in? I don't really know that I'm logged in, right? So how can I? Yeah, that of course I could have used that too. Wouldn't that have been nice? On the index page, how do I know that they're logged in? Okay, I could echo out like "Welcome, Dave," something like that, and they know I'm logged in. And how do I know they're logged in? What data do I have that lets me know they're logged in? In the sessions, right? So on my index page, I also have to call the session start. If I want to use any of the information from the session, I then need to get that data, and I've already got that over here. So I'm going to get logged in and login time. And it's going to be my logged in equals. Isn't this my index page? No, it's not. Yes, I do want it right here. See, that's where I want it. And then I had the last login time. I think that's what I called it. Last login time, logged in. Oh, too many languages. Gotta have a dollar sign here, not a percent. All right, so I've got my two variables, but what information in here is there that tells me their name? On this page, though, I don't have that. So how would I pass the username onto a new page like this? Yeah, let's add it to the session, right? Let's just add a new variable to my session, and we'll call it username. And I'm going to store a username in here. Now that data now will be available on my index page, and I can get that data out. Username. Ah. All right, so then I could, somewhere in my information, I could actually print out welcome username, right? So I might do that in my header page. I mean, we're bringing in every page we can think of here. Let's look at the header. And yeah. And let's put it in here somewhere. Let's put it here. Let's just put a H2 in here and say welcome username. All right. Now, is this variable going to be available in this template? If I go back to my index page, Is this variable available inside this template? Yes, because it's defined ahead of time, and it's not a function, so it's just straight PHP being included, so that should work fine.
Now, seeing as that's just the index page, though, if you just put that in the header, what happens if you put that in another page?
Well, let's see. All right, so I got to go back.
Dollar username.
Did it print something?
It printed dollar username.
Where? Oh, I did. So what's the problem with that? How do I fix that? How do I fix that? I got to put it in like I did the title up here, right? I'm going to put PHP code. I got to switch to PHP. I did that on purpose too, just to see if you guys could remember that. So I'm going to switch to PHP. I'm going to echo out my username and then switch out of PHP. All right? Isn't that terrible? Whoa. Oh, gotta be kidding me. Welcome, Dave. Look at that. Welcome, Dave. So let's go to my products page. Welcome. Undefined. Why? Very good. My products page never called the session start. So all I have to do is on my products page is to call session start up here somewhere. Sure. I could put it in the header if that's on my every page. Sure, why not? Very, yep. So let's do that. Let's put it in my header.php, which I had open. And right at the top, I'll call session start, indented correctly. Boy, this is all not indented correctly, is it? Look at that. All right, so let's do that. And now it should work on every page. I reload this guy. What's wrong with this? This is good debugging. What's wrong with that? Right, it's not a variable, it's a function name, so I don't need the dollar sign here. That's a tricky one. All right.
Still doing it on username though, because you never the session start is there, but you define the username variable outside of the session start.
I did. So I should do that.
You want to just take that entire chunk you have at the head of the index page.
Yep.
And put that as a function that you name, just session.
Sure.
Like include the session start in it.
Yep.
And that whole bloody thing you just put into your common function file.
Yep, I would do something exactly like that. I'm just going to do this for now. But I could make this a function just as easily.
Well, I suppose it's just put it there that once.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, welcome, Dave. Go to products. Welcome, Dave. Articles. Welcome, Dave. Calendar. Welcome, Dave. Look at that. Is that beautiful?
Now, is there a check for if currently logged in order to remove the username and password?
Well, how would I check to see if they're logged in?
If it exists, it's empty or nil, they haven't logged in.
Right. If this variable logged in is set, then it has then they're logged in. That's how I check. If is set logged in.
Okay.
There's no nice Ruby way of doing that like in Rails. So
Every day the devised gem gets more beautiful.
Now, does the session could expire on its own at some point?
when you close the browser, it expires.
Server side.
Periodically, they go through and they clean up old sessions. Yes, they delete them.
Because if someone just keeps opening new tabs and never actually closes it.
Yeah, you could potentially crash a browser that way, a server that way. Yeah, but they periodically clean those up on the server side. So everybody got the basic gist of authentication here? How might I log out then, if there aren't any questions on this?
When they click on it, we just said logged in to false.
Okay? So I can do that. I can, let's have a log out page. Yes, so there's a way of closing the session. Just like session start, I want to destroy the session. And this will completely wipe out the session. All right, so session destroy, that should automatically log me out completely. And I might do a header redirect. Let's go get it to the same place. I might do a redirect on my logout page to the front page, and that should show that I'm logged out. Yeah, but it'll throw an error because I don't have anything there, right? That's not nice enough yet. So if I have a logout, logout.php, trying to destroy uninitialized session. So that's weird. I have to call session start and then session destroy. How about that? Yep. All right, there we go. So now it says welcome nobody. I have these errors because I'm trying to get the data that's not there anymore. So I'd have to add a little more logic to not have that data and probably put this entire thing in only if they are logged in. I'd have some logic that says if they're logged in, display this entire welcome page, otherwise not.
Otherwise, you can display the form right above it.
Yeah, you could do that, right. Take away the form and, yeah, exactly. That'd be nice. See, I didn't really need another form. I could just have used this, but.
And it made it easier for us to understand because I think that's
Yeah.
in their weird ass.
Yeah, exactly. That's in their code that I don't have. Yeah. All right, any questions on sessions? Logging in, logging out? That's a quick and dirty way. Obviously, for your assignment, you're going to have to store their username and password in the database so that you can actually see if they're logged in. This is not good enough, obviously, because it doesn't matter what I type and they're going to let me in. So you're going to have to verify that. There's tutorials about encrypting the password, and ideally we would only store the encrypted data in our user table, not the plain text. So we might go through that tomorrow. I might set that up tomorrow. All right, any other questions on that? Yes?